What's up, everybody? Welcome to Sports Grind Season 4, Episode 9. My name is Tyler Wargo.
And I'm Mickey Perella.
And like always, we have so much to talk about. NBA action, NHL action, NFL Week 14 to talk about. We have MLB trading to talk about. And we have the FIFA World Cup, which finally came to an end. And we have a World Cup winner.
We sure do.
Let's get right into it. Starting off NBA action from last night, Grizzlies laid out the Magic 123-115 in Orlando. Man of the game was Ja Morant, like always. Every time that you turn on the game and watch the Grizzlies, Ja Morant's always lighting up the court. He had 32 points, 6 assists, and 5 rebounds. Now, the question for the Grizzlies is, can they stay in front of the Pelicans? As we know, they are just one up ahead of the Pelicans, and it's really getting close in their conference. What's your thoughts?
I think it's going to be close. Both teams are really evenly matched, but I think the Pelicans are just a tiny bit better. They have a better, deeper roster. As I mentioned last week, they got a really good roster with, Ingram, Zion, other players like Jose Alvarado. They just have such a deep team that I just don't think that Ja Morant can single-handedly lead the Grizzlies past the Pelicans.
Really? Because last time I checked, Zion Williamson's injured. And like we said, the last time we came on the show, we talked about the moment Zion gets injured, the moment the Pelicans are going to fall off. And I feel like that this is their chance to falling off and having the Grizzlies stay in front. Because the moment Zion Williamson gets injured, we don't know how long it's going to take for him to come back. And I just feel like it's going to stun the Pelicans going forward. Yeah,
you're definitely right about Zion's injury issues. That's definitely a big part of why, the Pelicans definitely could fall, as you said. But I also think that they have a good enough roster where they can sustain a little hiccup with an injury. He just can't be out that long.
Now, he has gotten injured. This is like, his fourth time getting injured this season, and he's came right back from injury. So hopefully this is just a short-term injury. Yep. He'll be back right before the playoffs. But right now, they need Zion Williamson in the lineup. But as for now, they have Valanciunas and Brandon Ingram to get the job done. Now, as for the Magic, they're not in last place anymore. They surpassed the Pistons and now the Hornets in the standings. So the Magic, yes, who cares about them? But the fact that they were able to bounce back from that, that 2-year back, the past 2 years, they've been in last place in the conference, and finally they're climbing up the ladder, but they're not going to get to where they need to be. Celtics devoured the Mavericks 124-95. Celtics are 27-12. Mavericks are 22-17. Yes, Mavericks are very consistent, but as for the Celtics, they're a very questionable team. Yes, they're consistent. Yes, they can pull a lot of wins, but they have some struggles, and we'll get to that. The key players for the Celtics is Jason Tatum, Malcolm Brogdon, and Jaylen Brown. And as for the Mavericks, it is Spencer Dinwiddie, Luka Doncic, and Jaden Hardy. Jaden Hardy, rookie, right? Coming out of, this is his first year on the team, and he's been absolutely stunning. The chemistry he's working with Spencer Dinwiddie and Luka Doncic is crazy. Sadly, they weren't able to get that win against the Celtics at home. Now, we have two questions. Let's talk about the Mavericks right now. Can the Mavericks bounce back? They have the next 3 games they're facing the Pelicans, Clippers, and the Thunder. Can they beat these teams and get to where they need to be?
I think they can. As we know about the Mavericks, everything relies on Luka Doncic because he is the engine that makes it run. So he has to play well in order for them to win any sort of games. If they don't, they will lose. But, as you mentioned earlier with Jaden Hardy, he's a rookie that came up really from the G League, kind of out of nowhere this year, as kind of like a low-round, second-round pick. And he's really, has a lot of scoring aptitude, and he can really, score the ball. So it's really going to help them with the Mavericks.
And he's not a guy to get injured all the time. Yes, we see him in the G Leagues. He hasn't really gotten injured much in the G Leagues. This guy, you can fully rely on him. The Mavericks are definitely going to want him in their system for the next seasons to come. As for the Celtics, this is something I've noticed as a Celtics fan. Why can the Celtics win to challenging teams but then lose to bad teams? They lost to the Clippers. They lost to the Magic twice at home. What's up with this? But then when they face teams like the Mavericks, who are actually kind of tough to beat, and the Grizzlies, they seem to win. What's your thoughts on that?
I kind of think that the Celtics just have a weird, thing going on. With focus, they kind of focus well on the good teams because they're become prepared. They really want to beat them because they have a certain amount of standard because we got to beat these really good teams. But when the lower teams, they expect to win, and guess what? The lower teams that have nothing to lose take their money away. It's like stealing money from a little kid. That's kind of how, these losses have been coming for the Celtics, and they just need to play tougher against really worse opponents.
And they only win when they're away. Like, they won in Dallas. They won in Golden State. Actually, they lost in Golden State only by a little bit, but they're able to do well away. But then when they're at home, they're selling the show. So
yeah.
Jazz beat the Rockets in Houston 131-114. The Nuggets defeated the Clippers 122-91. Now, the Nuggets now are tied in first place with the Grizzlies, so this is a very close conference right here. I think the Grizzlies are going to stay in front of the Nuggets, but the Nuggets are kind of weird because they have Jokic, they have a lot of star players, but they're very comparable to the Grizzlies. I mean, these teams can fall, but but the moment that they rise to the fullest. So I think that the Nuggets can definitely surpass the Grizzlies, but as for now, I can see the Grizzlies staying in front. So NFL Week 17 recap: Cowboys handled the Titans 27-13 in Nashville. Patriots ended the Dolphins 23-21. Now the Saints pulled a shocker, winning 20-10, facing the Eagles. This is a great win to start the new year, but we're out of the playoffs because the Buccaneers beat the Panthers. And it was kind of really hard for the Saints to do this. I mean, they ended their playoff run. They ended their shine on a good win, being one of the teams to beat the Eagles. But yes, that's great, but we didn't make it to the playoffs and we're eliminated. So that's upsetting. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I can't be that more upset. I kind of knew that we weren't going to make it to the playoffs, but beating the Eagles out of all teams, very happy. So yeah, we're eliminated from playoff contention. Man of the game was Will Lutz. If this dude missed 2 of his field goals, we would have lost the game. But Will Lutz, I mean, this is the only guy that entire game that was able to put some points on the board. He had 8 points, going 2 for field goals. Now, the reason for the Eagles' loss, I'll let you go first, but what was the reason for their loss? Who on their team was the reason why they couldn't win?
The reason why they couldn't win the game was because it wasn't any player in particular that they did have on the field. It's who they didn't have. Jalen Hurts. He's been their quarterback who's taken another step forward. He can run, he can throw, he can pretty much do everything. And he was kind of the guy who's leading this team through this miraculous Eagles season. And with him being hurt and him being injured and Gardner Minshew in there, it's just not the same team at all.
Definitely Gardner Minshew being the reason. I mean, this guy, I thought at first, seeing him last season play as a backup, I thought he was actually not that bad. I mean, think about it. When they played the Cowboys, they almost beat the Cowboys with Gardner Minshew in his first run back at the Eagles. And he actually almost was able to keep Cowboys from winning. But obviously, Cowboys won that game. But Gardner Minshew, I feel like he can be good. He's just not having that chemistry that he wants to have with the team that he's playing with.
Exactly, because he hasn't played a lot. He's been on the bench the whole year. Even though he's kind of been in practice, he's been getting second-team reps, not first-team reps. So at that, when you make that point about Gardner Minshew, you're absolutely right, because he's just not really part of the team.
You need to give him experience.
Yes, exactly.
You need to give him experience. So, yeah, Gardner Minshew being the reason why they lost is definitely a factor right there. I mean, they have, Sanders, they have A.J. Brown, they still got their receivers, but their defense as well. I mean, their defense has been phenomenal
all year with their rushing.
Well, they have bad games.
So. Yeah, they do, but, they've been really rushing the quarterback, and they've been kind of the main reason why they've been so good on defense.
Now, another question for the Eagles is, what does this mean for their future? I mean, they don't look like they're going to be getting Jalen Hurts anytime soon. I mean, his injury was pretty bad. It was almost like an ACL tour, right? It was really bad, especially for a small QB like him. What does this Gardner Minshew having the role of a QB, what does this mean for their future going into the playoffs?
I think they're not going to be obviously they're not going to be like the favorite to win, because they're going to have Minshew. Could they win a game? Yeah, I can see them winning a game because I think Minshew is good enough, and I think if you give him enough first-team reps, I think he can perform. But do I think Super Bowl? No. No long playoff run for the Eagles, I don't think, unless they get Jalen Hurts back.
High hopes for the Super Bowl is now down the drain. I mean, the Eagle fans are like, they don't care that he's injured. They just want Jalen Hurts, whether he's injured or not, to have the QB role. And they're not. I mean, as a franchise, they can't let a guy who's injured play the QB. They really have to go by how he's feeling, how healthy he is, to get him better as a team.
Absolutely.
Giants stunned the Colts 38-10. I mean, wow. They were running on top of the Colts in Indianapolis.
The Colts just stink. They stink.
They're really bad. I mean, they're just as bad as the Texans. Jets took the L 23-6. Jets record is 7-9. As for the Seahawks record, they're 8-8. Now, as a Jets fan, I talked about how the Saints are eliminated. At least we were eliminated on a good way. At least we won a game, but then lost by another team taking our spot in the playoffs. But as for you, what's your thoughts on the Jets being eliminated?
Oh, that was really depressing because at one point they were 7-4, and now they're 7-9. So please tell me how that happened. The reason why that happened is injuries. They had a ton of injuries on the offensive line. They had injury to their running back. And also they had the Mike White, who was actually playing well for them. He got hurt. And then they had to go back to Zach Wilson, who, let's be honest, he's not really an NFL starting caliber quarterback. It's just been a mess. And they've been losing games. They lost a ton of momentum, and that's why they're 7-9. So, yeah, that's kind of how I feel about the Jets' elimination. They also had to play tough teams, but a lot of winnable games, too. Like they had to play the Patriots twice, and they were both winnable, and they lost to both of them. And they also had a chance to beat the Bills as well to really, set themselves apart. And, again, they lost to the Bills because they just didn't score enough. It just was just a whole just collapse through the whole thing. And can I see the Jets bounce back next season? I actually can, but they got to get themselves a veteran starting quarterback. Two names that come up to mind for the Jets: Jimmy Garoppolo of the Niners, Derek Carr of the Raiders. Those two guys need to be Jets next year.
They need to get a good spot in the draft too. I mean, the first half of the season, you would look at them now and say, "Oh, they're going to make it to the playoffs." And they just had a really bad second half, middle half of the season. I mean, you really gotta, like the Eagles, you gotta carry it all the way through. You gotta start from the first half, bring it all the way to the second half into the playoffs.
Consistency is what really matters in this sport.
And that's exactly what the Jets. They had it, but it's what they gave up on.
Yep, and also their coach, Robert Saleh, their GM, Joe Douglas. It's game time now. Next season is going to be a big year for your guys' jobs.
Yeah, and now we're going to take it to Monday night. Something very shocking happened. Something that I mean, as a fan watching the sport, haven't really witnessed, especially like cancellation of a game. They canceled the Monday Night Football game, Bills and Bengals cancellation due to Damar Hamlin incident. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, unfortunately, he suffered a cardiac arrest right on the field. Thank God for the people that were there as like trainers that saved his life, because he lost the pulse at one point. So thank you for saving his life. I mean, just miraculous how they handled that whole situation. And it was a good job by the NFL, canceling the game. That game could not have continued. I know that the playoffs have been all kind of wacky because it was sort of like the second to last week of the season, and it kind of screwed everything up that way. But you know what? Damar Hamlin's life was the most important thing that mattered, and we're thankful that he's alive and getting better every day.
And look at the players too. Like the players when they are on the field with this guy. I mean, they can't go on and continue a game forgetting that this even happened. They can't.
I mean, they're watching their teammate just getting
and who
CPR
knows?
on the field. Like it's tough to play,
It's unpredictable,
it's crazy.
And it's just like, I don't know, like it's not about, people say, oh, it's all about Damar Hamlin. It's also about, what was his name, the other player on the Bengals that hit him?
T. Higgins.
How does he feel? People are threatening this guy because of.
Yeah, you can't do that.
And it was by accident. It was all by accident.
It was a football play. I mean, it was just an unlucky thing that happened to the guy getting with the cardiac arrest. I mean, so it really wasn't anything malicious at all. So it just.
But it's no one's fault. This is a this is a contact sport. Things happen. I mean, and what's also weird is how it happened to Tua as well.
Yeah, he got 3 concussions.
That same, they played in Cincinnati on a Monday night, and the same thing happened to him. So it's not about how the Bengals are playing. It's just kind of weird how Tua gets injured in Cincinnati, just like Damar Hamlin.
Yeah.
So it's awful to see, and it's just we gotta just put that in our hearts and consider that football. It's a fun sport, but these things happen. These things happen.
It's dangerous.
NHL on the ice action from last night. Kraken crushed the Maple Leafs 5-1. Rangers demolished the Canadiens 4-1. Now let's talk about this game. As a Ranger fan, this is a great game to see. There was a great first half that we saw. It was 0-0 all the way until the second period. Both teams were doing amazing, outstanding on the ice the first half of the game. But man of the game was Philip Chytil, as he had 3 shot on goals and two goals. What I like about the Rangers is that it's not about relying on one person. It's all around. This is an all-around team. The goalie can do well. Chris Kreider can do well. We have so many talented guys that can all work together and to put the points on the board, and that's exactly what they did. Here we are. We're seeing Philip score a lot of goals, and we haven't really seen him score a lot of goals in the past games. So seeing every player get a chance at scoring on the Rangers is great. We're still up for grabs for the playoffs, but we've got to fight a little bit harder. But wins like this is what's going to get us there. So, reason for the Canadiens' loss, second period. I mean, we saw 3 goals be scored in the second period. And I think the Canadians, too many penalties, being way too aggressive on the ice, and their defense is letting them go. I mean, their defense was horrendous. The offense didn't show up. Third period, they kept it close, going with the first period, but that second period really cost the game. If they saved the most goals in the second period, they would have definitely had more of a chance of winning in the third period, but second period costed them. Now, who needs to show up for Montreal? Definitely Christian Dvorak and Jake Evans. These guys, we have seen them show up plenty of times, but last night we did not see them show up at all. So hopefully going forward, Montreal can step up from this win. Because in the end, they still have a chance for the wild card, and they still have a chance to go far in this game. So in this league, so they have a chance. But last night's win was not what Montreal needed. We now take you over to the Golden Knights as they conquered the Penguins 2-5 at the T-Mobile Arena. Golden Knights, this is their season. Season's back. They were terrible. So finally, the Golden Knights getting the season that they want. I definitely have high hopes for the Golden Knights to go far in the playoffs. As for the Bruins, they damaged the Kings 5-2. Last time we saw the Bruins play the Kings, it was in Boston, and the Kings got the better of the Bruins. And that was not what a lot of Boston fans wanted. They were very surprised by that win that the Kings pulled off on them. But here we are finally seeing them again play in LA this time. Bruins doing what they should have done the last time they played, and that's to win. The Bruins are the best hockey team right now in the league. Bruins record is 30-4. 30-4. I mean, that's insane. The Kings record is 22-14, keeping their wins-losses consistent. But it's about the Bruins. The standings right now, the Bruins are in first place ahead of Toronto by 7 games. So this is a season that they did not have last season. And this is a shocker season right now. Boston is going all in on this. And last year was the wild card. This year, they're going to find a spot in the playoffs automatically. So Bruins, I have high hopes for them. I think they're going to go all the way to the Stanley Cup, to be honest. As for the Kings, they're second place behind Vegas by 5 games. And the question that leads me to say is, can the Kings keep up to Vegas? Los Angeles and Vegas, they're both inching right now towards first place. But I think the Golden Knights are going to stay in first place because the Kings, the moment they start winning games and keeping up with the Vegas Golden Knights is the moment that the Golden Knights win another 3 games. So, yes, the Kings can win games, but it's just going to make the Golden Knights have more room to, win a lot of games and get their chance in the playoffs. So it's definitely looking interesting for that. So, yeah, Kings cannot keep up with Vegas. Vegas is going to go all in. They're like the Bruins right now, unstoppable. As that's going to lead us now to the MLB trading. Well, I know Mickey wants to talk about this.
Yeah.
Let's start off with Kyle Senga. What's your thoughts on him?
Yeah, so his name is Kodai Senga. He's from Japan. He hasn't played in MLB before, so he's really only played in the Japanese league. So as I was talking to Tyler earlier, it's kind of going to be a risk. You don't know how he's actually going to perform in the States. He's got good stuff. He's got a good fastball, splitter. He's got some other pitches that might work, but they're kind of on the fringes. But honestly, if he can be a guy like Yu Darvish, a guy that's, an all-star caliber guy, we got to get something good here. And it gave him a nice contract to do it. Even if he's average, I'm good with that. He just can't be an absolute bomb and stink up the joint. He can't do that. But if he can just be, decent, or even like a guy like Darvish, pretty good, well, I'll be satisfied with that.
I think he'll be good. I mean, a lot of guys like him, they can do well, and they can perform well in the pitching. Can he do other things besides just pitching too, like Ohtani? Does he have that role that Ohtani has?
No, he's not. He's not a hitter like Ohtani is. He's a pitcher only. But honestly, Ohtani's a one-in-a-generation type player to do that. Like Babe Ruth was the last guy to do that. It's just nuts.
So, and you should see his highlights. I mean, his highlights say it all. I mean, his highlights don't definitely satisfy a Mets fan. So,
yeah, definitely.
So Kodai Senga, keep an eye on him. As for Xander Bogaerts going to the Padres, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's really shocking that the Red Sox let him go. I mean, that guy has been, the heart and soul of your team every single year, got better off on defensively, and it was also just like a steady bat. So it was surprising to see him go. As for San Diego, at first glance, you're like, why do they need another shortstop? They got Ha-Seong Kim, who's a good defender. They had Fernando Tatis Jr. When healthy and
He's
not suspended,
injured.
He's a very good player. So why do you need him? Tatis isn't reliable enough. He's always hurt, and then he got suspended. So he's really just unreliable. So you need to get a guy like Bogaerts, who's a veteran presence, who's done it before, and a guy that you can trust. And that's why you make that move.
Yeah, Fernando Tatis is always injured. I mean, I can kind of relate him to Zion Williamson. I mean, you need that guy to stay in, or else the team's going to fall off. I mean, this year the Padres did well without him. Just imagine what they're going to do without him and with Bogaerts. I mean, it's going to be absolutely crazy. So another trade that we want to talk about is Justin Turner going on the Red Sox.
Yeah.
I kind of feel the way that Red Sox feels when they lost Bogaerts. I mean, Justin Turner was the guy, he was the face of LA and the face of the Dodgers farm system, and he owned the third base for the Dodgers. But, as a Dodger fan, I'm going to say something that a lot of Dodger fans wouldn't say, and that is I'm actually not that upset because look at our farm system here. We got guys coming up from Oklahoma City, our AAA team, and they're doing amazing right now. I mean, we have Edwin Rios still who can show up when he wants to.
Yeah.
We have a lot of star players in our farm system, so I'm not really scared that we lost players like Bellinger, Trey Turner, because it's time for these new guys to get a step up to the plate because I think that they're finally going to show up, and I think they're going to do what they're intended to do. I mean, we have Miguel Vargas. I love seeing Miguel Vargas play.
Yeah, that's the guy I was going to mention. Miguel Vargas is really the key here to replacing Justin Turner. So obviously when you look at it from a basis standpoint from the Red Sox and the Dodgers, they kind of switch players here. Justin Turner left L.A. and went to Boston, and J.D. Martinez left Boston and went to L.A. Now, I think Justin Turner is ended up being better than J.D. Martinez because, he's just a better hitter and he doesn't have the back problems that Martinez has. But as you mentioned, Miguel Vargas, that's the key. If he can become a key contributor, he doesn't have to be an all-star. He just needs to be a key contributor, like a good starter. That guy can be very good for you.
And he's consistent. We see him in the outfield. We now see him in the DH spot. We see him on third base. He can rotate around. I mean, obviously he can't pitch, but he can do any other position that you give him.
Yeah, utility guy you can play over.
Got to just keep him healthy too. But yeah, that's that. Any more trades you want to talk about? Oh yeah, Trey Turner on the Phillies. Yeah, I'm not really, like I said,
I think it's a big move for the Phillies.
I can see him on the Phillies. And that's going to give the Phillies confidence going into next
And they needed a shortstop badly. Like, their shortstops this last year were awful. Turner is like a top 5 in the game. So that's perfect for them. After the Dodgers, they're probably going to, they needed Trey Turner. But let's be honest, are they going to be that bad without him? Like, as you mentioned, they got Miguel Vargas. They got other guys coming up. Like, it may give Gavin Lux a shot to, get more reps, too. So.
Right. So I want to finish off with one last thing, and that's the FIFA World Cup. Last time we were here, we just got to the Argentina-France, and my prediction was right, your prediction was right, and that was Argentina beating France to be the FIFA World Cup champions. It was predictable. Messi's now the greatest. I said it, okay? I said it. I'm going to say it again. Messi's the greatest. Ronaldo's only good at, Instagram. Come on now. So what's your thoughts?
Thank you for sticking to your word there. I mean, Messi.
I would never switch about Messi. Come on now.
Messi was great in the final game. And the other player who was impressive for France was Kylian Mbappe. That guy looks like the next Messi for the next generation, basically.
I agree, because guess what? The French, they relied on that guy.
Yeah.
If that guy was not in, they wouldn't even, they would
The guy got 3 goals for France.
Yeah.
The guy was unbelievable.
France would not be in the position that they would be in if it wasn't for Mbappe, I swear.
And by the way, the game as a whole was unreal. It was a great game by both teams. It went to goal kicks, which was kind of bad.
I love goal kicks. No, I love goal kicks. Come on, you don't like goal kicks?
I mean, I kind of do, but it was like, I kind of want to win more overtime, man. I would have done more of that.
Yeah.
And just whoever scored, because that game was just so good. That was a great, finale.
So the overview of this whole game, Messi's the greatest of all time. Ronaldo is, and ends that debate. Ronaldo's good. Okay, he has good history. People say that, he doesn't, he has good history, but he's not good right now. So, yeah, and then Mbappe, without him, France wouldn't be anywhere near the FIFA. They wouldn't even make it in the FIFA playoffs, literally. They would not be in that whole thing. Mbappe, he deserves a lot of credit. This guy was the only reason why France was in the position that they were in. And, yeah, Messi, the greatest of all time. As that's going to wrap up the show. Then you got to tune into Season 4, Episode 9. My name's Tyler Wargo.
And I'm Mickey Perella.
You got to tune into Sports Grind. Season 4, Episode 9. And, yeah, bye.